Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I have the opportunity to work on a Daiwa reel. This is the Daiwa BG3500 Digigear. And it's a nice reel. It's been fished hard. Carmine asked me to kind of tune it up, and here's a little bit of noise going on in there. It sounds like dried grease, dried oils, what have you. We'll see as we open this up. So today we're going to show you how to take it apart, how to service it, and how to keep it fishing well past the fall season, and we'll see just how this reel is made, how it comes apart, and how you can continue to work on this reel so that it lasts you for a very long time. We're going to start by removing the exterior pieces. I'll start with the spool today for some reason. And while we do this, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. It will let you know when I'm posting videos, and you can make a decision as to whether that's a video that you want to watch. I work on all kinds of fishing reels. I work on saltwater, freshwater, and spinning, low profile bait casters, brown bait casters, trolling reels, ocean reels, everything in between. So we just removed the handle. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to remove the click ratchet, the spool shims, and the top bearing, and you can do that simply by pulling up on that. Well, I called those out as to what they are. A good way for you to remember where they go and how they go is to take pictures as you disassemble the reel. That'll help you to become knowledgeable, as well as it'll help you out in a jam if you kind of get stuck along the way. All right, we want to remove the side plate here. I think we can do that without removing the rotor, but you know, we can remove the rotor as well. Doesn't matter which order you do this, and rather than just kind of guess about where all this stuff is, removing that rotor will help. There's a small screw here. Looks like I need a mini screwdriver to get at it. It's the lockdown screw for the rotor nut, and it's a flat-sided screw, very small. So you need to protect yourself with those small pieces. I use a parts tray. It's nothing more than a fast food container, and well, that serves me well, because if I go to reassemble, can't find the parts, so it's not going to do me any good. Just trying to find a deep socket now. I guess we got one of those in between sizes here. Let's see what we got. Looks like a 15 millimeter. I keep the sockets nearby just in case I need them. And I find that even though we have a lip there, it's pretty easy for me to just use that deep socket to go over it. And I guess as it turns out, it's probably the 14 millimeter. So let's try that one. That's what it would be. Fooled me. All right, let's try this again. Comes off in a traditional counterclockwise manner, and we'll put that into the parts tray as well. We should now be able to pull up and out on the rotor to remove that. When I take that rotor off, I'm going to oil the seams here on both sides with some penetrating oil. That's going to help loosen that up. If there's any dirt or grease in there, it'll just help it to snap right back. So I keep the penetrating oil nearby. That doesn't need to go into my basket. I'm going to put the spool right on that and set that off to the side. We have 3 screws, and we also have a bump guard here. So I'm going to start by removing the bump guard. That bump guard is there to protect the case from fracturing should the reel get dropped or bang the sidewall or something like that. It's a protective piece. And it also has a little stud on the ends here. You can see that stud. Make sure when you go to replace that or put it back together that you have that properly seated and not break off. If it breaks off, that bump guard will not serve you very well. It'll be kind of flapping there. Okay, that's good. Take some of these tools off the bench for a minute here. It's getting kind of busy here. And there's 3 screws that are holding the side plate on. I'm not sure if there's a 4th one. Sometimes up under that shield there, they hide a 4th one. Guess we'll see in a moment. Let me try to take the side plate off. It seems like maybe, just maybe, there might be something up here. Those 3 screws I laid on my desk, they're all the same size, so when I reinstall the case, they can all go in the same piece. Let's take this protective shield off now. And we'll get an idea of what goes on here. So this is a later iteration of the BG series. The original ones had a much different design to them, but they've remained popular through the time. Okay, I'm not seeing much here. Let's remove the the 2 screws on the bottom here. That should allow us to remove everything else. Let's see if we can get that collar and clutch off. So the clutch has an instant anti-reverse. It also has an override on it. That override sits on a little pin on the switch back here. I guess that's what's been sticking. So we can pull those off. Put those in the parts tray. Now I have those 2 screws underneath holding the collar on. And I'm not sure if that's holding the case on or not. No, that's the screw for the other one. Okay. Well, we're kind of going about this in an odd way, but I don't want to risk breaking anything, so it's okay to do it this way. One of the things that's interesting with this reel is they use a little clip to hold the main gear in on the other side. It's very frustrating to kind of work on it when you have big fingers and hands. We're going to take that whole assembly out there, and this is not removable to the best that I can see. Alright, this should come out then. There we go. So whatever was in the way there, we kind of cleared it out. Not a problem. Alright, underneath on the back side of this then, there's a pyramid clip that's hiding in here. And the first thing you want to do is kind of get the grease out so that you can get access to that little clip. And this is one where, believe it or not, I've used all kinds of things. I'm going to use a little straight pin here. And this may take a while. Ah, we got our first shot. Very good. I'll show you that pin in just a moment, or that piece in just a moment. We have a little round washer. Still can't get that off. Alright, well I'm going to push the main gear back a little bit so that I can get that. Okay, well, I still don't have that thing out, but I'm just going to turn my attention. I just moved this side here. I'm going to remove the main gear. That pin should be in my hand now. There it is. So this is what I was referring to. A little pentagonal clip. Don't lose it. It's going to hold your main gear in when it's time to put it back, as well as this little metal washer there. There were 2 shim washers that came out of the front here. Just make a note of those. Find another section of your parts tray. And now what we have is the sliding arm mechanism for this reel. We have 2 pins, one on each side. This one came out already. I'm going to pull that pin down. Notice on this pin that there is an indentation up top here. That's going to fit in the side plate hole. I'm running out of room, so I better run out of things to take off pretty soon. This is the other one. This does not have an indentation. It's also, I believe, a little bit longer. I'll leave the main gear for now, and we can take this crosswind arm and axle shaft out. So this axle shaft has actually got a screw in here. I've yet to figure out a way to take that screw off without doing it this way. A lot of times you'll have the screw holding the axle shaft to the crossline block, and you can remove that screw and pull up and out on the axle shaft. I've not had any luck with these. This is a fairly standard design now within the Daiwa line. I did a Regal the other day. It's pretty much the same reel design. And I've also done some of the lower end reels like the Crossfire and that same design. Alright, I'm going to flush this main gear here with some penetrating oil. I'm going to find myself a hard brush. And I'm going to get a couple of things off my desk here. Pull through the teeth, pull it out onto my paper towel here, clean it up, use either side. These are just dollar store brushes. This one happens to be a wire one. You can use a toothbrush. Doesn't need to be the wire one, just happens to be the one I grabbed. Now once you're clean of those teeth, check all the teeth, make sure that they're not distorted in any way. Check both sides, front and back. Actually, I could use a little bit of a scrub there. And here's that little ridge that that clip is going to run in. So when you go to reinstall, you need to know. Put that in the corner with those other two shim washers. One more piece inside the case here. That's the crossline block. So I'm going to take that off as well. Screw comes down. Now I should be able to pull it out by using that stud. And we can clean up the gear as well as the case. Same idea here. I use a penetrating oil as a degreaser. So when I'm cleaning, I'm pretty liberal with squirting that all over the place. Generally do not use that as a lubricator, even though it says it lubricates on it. On the front end of your, on the back end, I'm sorry, the back end of this gear, there is a little metal washer, very thin. There's also a bearing where I took that screw out. So when you're doing your inventory of pieces and parts, know how those go. I'm going to leave those right there because it's just a quick cleanup of the case here. So let's do that now. I'm going to use a cotton swab and some penetrating oil just to get the old greases off. And we still have that bearing in the case. I'll poke it out, I think. Poke that side case bearing out. I'm going to test this. I test it by holding it with the inner ring with my finger or race, making sure that that works okay. It does. So I'm going to just put a bit of oil on that bearing. It's a shielded bearing, so it won't seep in. Let's go back then. We'll reassemble the bottom here. That flat washer goes on. Then our bearing, we got a bearing there, we'll oil that. Then we want to grab the grease. Grease the oscillation gear. We can put that oscillation gear on. Of course, the bearing came out. It's alright, just reseat that. Go for the screw. If it falls off your driver, just use grease as kind of a temporary glue. Bring that right back on. Tighten that down, make sure that it rolls nicely, which it does. Put the bearing back in the case on this side now. And we can just kind of tap that down. And that's why you need that clip. If you don't have that clip, if you've lost it, that bearing will float off that main gear in that channel there. Okay, got a couple of things to do here now. The first one, if you remember the sequence, is that we need to snake our axle shaft and crosswind block through. And I just leave it off to the side now because you still got to get the main gear in. So we'll grease the main gear. And I'm using fishing wheel grease. I only recommend that you use fishing wheel grease as you service your fishing reels. I get questions all the time. I got one the other day about can I use STP grease on it, and I said I don't prefer to do that. I only recommend fishing wheel grease. And would you consider putting fishing wheel grease on your automobile? No. It's kind of just the way it goes. All right, grab your main gear, get that seated in there with that axle shaft kind of floating in the back. Same thing up here. We don't have that pinion gear in yet either. But you just want to set it up that way because, well, it's kind of the way that Daiwa's got me doing that. Find the stud for your crosswind block and load that on there. Now we have those two arms. One of the arms is one that's got a taper to it. The other one is flat. So take your crosswind block. There's a lip in there that's going to allow you to center it. So get the lip on it, and it's seated into two little indentations on this side. Of course, go to show it and it's going to pop out on me, but that's kind of the way you want to do that. Okay, the other one is going to secure everything, so you want to find the other hole in the crosswind block, the small taper up top, bring that through the hole in the bottom. Okay, you'll know it's properly seated when you see that there's a space underneath the body here. Let's go grab our pinion gear. Again, this is kind of an oddball reel to serve in my mind. There may be a different way to do it. This is the way I've been doing it, but it seems to work, and that's the most important part. There is a little copper or brass or some kind of washer that's going to sit on the bottom of this. Don't lose that. I'm going to grease that up. Again, just like the main gear, check the teeth, make sure that they're okay. We've got the bearing. Let's go oil that. Insert the bearing onto the top of your assembly. Hold everything tight. Bring your assembly in over the axle shaft. And then turn it to seat it with the main gear. And make sure that you've got your bearing seated down. Next up then is this little clip here. This is the clip for the bearing retainer. This is one of those two small screws that we had. Don't lose them. It'll trick with that grease again. Use that as kind of a glue. And I'll line to one side and get this screw started. Back and find that other little screw. A little bit more grease and we'll come back on the other side. And we'll tighten them both down. Okay, with that in, we have the major components sitting where they should be sitting. We just need to make sure that we've got this main gear seated properly. Looks like we do. And I think we just want to now push that bearing back down. And you need the clearance because the shoulder right here on that main gear is where that little pentagon clip is going to ride. Go to your case and get that clip over the top. And this one I just kind of use a series of picks and the like just to get one side trapped and pull on the other side to get it seated. This is almost like surgery here. Never goes easy. It takes some time, so. I'd love to see how they do these on site in the manufacturing plant. I mean, this is always a challenge. But believe it or not, I have it. Okay, that's your retainer there. And this little ring goes in the case as well. That's a retention ring, I think, for the cap. Oh, it's a bearing retention ring. So just get that all the way down there. That'll keep the bearing from floating in case that other one shoots. All right. Before you do much, you can turn the gearing at this point. Make sure that it's doing what it should be doing. Just like that. We can close the bottom case up now. So we had the two shim washers that go on here. We have a bearing inside the case. Close that case up, make sure it's nice and tight. Take the 4 case screws. Oops, that's not right. That's because there's only 3 case screws. Just finished working on a pen 4500 that had 4 case screws, so that must be what was on my mind there. Okay, let's get these done. Make sure your side plate is nice and tight and crisp without any tension on it. One more down below here. Then we have our bump guard that will have to be installed. And while I'm doing that, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, if you want to leave those questions in the comments section, I will try to answer those for you, and hopefully maybe help you out if you need some help. Maybe you're servicing a reel and you're encountered a little problem somewhere. I will try to get that answered for you. I'm going to back this off just a little bit, just to give myself some room to get that tab in. Just running in that hole of the case. When you have that seated properly, get the screw that ties the bottom one down. And that'll hold everything in place. Okay. Very good. Alrighty. Next up then is the top end of this, which includes that anti-reverse clutch and the collar. So grab the collar first. The clutch, you don't oil anything. All you do with that clutch is make sure that it's clean, just like that. Once we do that, then we can put the cover on. There's 2 sides. There's one that has a ridge that's just going to hold this in place. There's the other side, which is relatively flat. That's where your pictures help. If you were wondering which side goes where, go back to your pictures as a reference point. 2 screws to tighten that down. And we can attach our rotor. The rotor, make sure it's clean. The rotor can just sit right on top now, find the flat spots. We know that this came off in a traditional counterclockwise, so it's going to go back on in a clockwise manner. So you want to throw the switch on your ratchet, tighten that down. You should have one more screw in here, which is the tie down screw for the rotor, and I remember this one. It was why I got the micro screwdriver out to begin with. Find a hole and put that in place. Now we have the click ratchet assembly. Click ratchet, spool shim, second spool shim. Those control the height of the line lay. Small washer. A bearing washer goes on the back end of this small bearing here, and your spool bearing. Well, before I put the spool on, I do want to take a moment here to check out the drag system. There's a pentagon or 5-sided clip that's holding the drag stack in place. I want to use a pick or something to get that out. It is a spring, it will shoot, so be careful with it. And then we can remove the drag stack. I'm not sure if I remember if these are carbon tex or felt or what these are. First thing you want to do is clean that stack out. If there's any debris or the like, you want to get that out of there. And these are carbon tex, so you don't need to do anything. Carbon tex will tell you you can run them dry. Put a little bit of grease on it. If you put a little bit of grease on it, wipe it off. Just let the cross hatching show through. There's 2 washers that are called keyed washers. They have a rectangular center. They go high and low. There's one washer which is called an eared washer. It has the 2 points in a circle. That belongs in the middle. You started with the drag washer and then the first keyed washer. Second drag washer. Find the slots in the spool for your eared washer. And make sure it's seated properly. If it's not in those slots, the drag will not work. Third drag washer, top keyed washer, put the clip back in. Then you need to work it down so that it is in the slot all the way around. This one's relatively easy. It's not a high tension clip. Sometimes you find these and they're very difficult to maneuver. Alright, with that done, check the inside. That's clean. And we can reinstall the drag adjuster knob. Put the cap back on the non-handle side. If you had any. Of course, if you're servicing your own wheel, it's not an issue. If you don't remember what side it was when the wheel came into your shop, go back to your pictures and look. It saves you the embarrassment of calling the owner to ask. I remember which side it went on. And that's the overall service of the reel. This is the Daiwa BG3500 Digigear. And well, let's give it a spin. Well, it's still got that noise. So that noise is, I guess, more in general wear. Like I said, it's been heavily fished, but overall it still runs nice and smooth, turns free and easy, and well, that one's off to the races. We have an instant anti-reverse. You also have that override. You can test that, make sure that you can backpedal the reel, which you can, and this one's ready to go fishing again. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Fire, rescue, police, EMT, nurses, everybody, thank you for such a dedicated career. To everyone, enjoy the art of fishing reel repair. Have fun doing it. It's not a chore. And if you like the video, please like it. And again, if you want to see more of these, please subscribe. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.